Hello, welcome to the session Accelerating Sales Intelligence Through Machine Learning at ML6. It's an honor to show to this great sales enablement community how we use artificial intelligence to shorten the enterprise sales cycle. In this section, I will explain why ML6 needed to implement sales intelligence. Secondly, how we implemented these sales intelligence technologies, and of course, our learnings and insights that we got from these projects. Finally, I will open up the floor, of course, for Q&A, for suggestions and questions. But first, let me introduce myself and ML6. My name is Philippe Descamps, and I work as Head of Sales and Marketing at ML6. Before joining ML6, I have been working almost 16 years for Microsoft. I started in Microsoft Belgium as account manager financial services and evolved to sales manager commercial sector. After that, I have been joining the EMEA teams running sales operations for industry segments and global accounts. Have also been managing the sales operations for ERP and CRM, the Dynamics 365 business, and been running the enterprise sales operations in Central and Eastern Europe. In all these roles, I have been using but also contributing a lot to sales enablement methodologies like account planning, like opportunity planning, close plans, but also deal-based forecasting, white space analysis, and last but not least, introducing and leveraging a lot of the business value selling methodologies. ML6 is a Belgium-based scale-up with expertise in state-of-the-art machine learning projects. We have up to 80 machine learning and data engineers, and we have delivered more than 200 projects successfully in Belgium, but also internationally. ML6 has been recognized, first of all, for the stellar growth year over year. We have been recognized by Deloitte as a very fast-growing AI company and even the fastest growing in Belgium last year. But ML6 has also been recognized for its expertise as AI Innovator of the Year 2020. The key to the success of ML6 is the continuous investment in R&D by allowing the workforce to invest more than 50% of their time into advanced research. And this is needed. As you probably know, almost every 15 minutes somewhere around the world, there's a paper issued or complemented with new evolutions and new contributions to AI algorithms and models and engines. So we need to be staying on top of that through advanced research. One of the core values of ML6 is to contribute back to the community and society. First of all, contributing back to the open source community, but also contributing to society in these challenging times with Corona. As example, we developed a mouth mask detection engine and application, and we gave the code for free to society for people and also companies to use if they needed that. The challenge, why did we implement sales intelligence? The unique selling points of ML6 is that we are able to support let's say the four most important AI domains that are available. We do support very high expertise in projects in computer vision area and domain, but also into language, into the time series area for anomaly detection and fraud detection, and also into match and rank. This is a strength because we can leverage the strength of multiple algorithms from different AI domains together to solve the most challenging problems. Then we also support up to 12 horizontal and vertical processes in domains like supply chain management, warehouse management, but also into sales and marketing. So we have up to 12 today. Then we do support these processes in different verticals. We go from public sector to commercial, and in that case, we go from life science to media, we go from manufacturing to healthcare and so on. So it's quite broad, and we support up to 112, 120 verticals. Looking at the segments we're active in, we do work for startup and scale-ups, but also for mid-size companies, innovative, digital savvy and cloud-oriented mid-sized companies, as well as for large enterprises locally in countries, but also the global large enterprises, part of the Fortune 500. In AI projects, we need to address multiple stakeholders. Stakeholders on the technical level, the machine learning specialist, the data scientist, as well as technical decision makers like CTO or head of data science, or CIOs, as well as the business decision maker like a VP of supply chain management. But then also when it comes to the larger projects, we need to meet board members or CXO members to convince of the value of the project that we are offering. And last but not least, we are active in 5 countries and expanding, so meaning that we also have to adjust for that, let's say, complexity. So if you would theoretically multiply all these elements together, we would need so many different sales pitches to prepare and to roll out to the market, which is of course not doable. So the challenge for our marketing teams is huge. How do you bring this huge and massive way of offering solutions to the market, all these USPs? How do you bring them through the salespeople, through your customers? How do you identify the right customers in the right segment? And how can you avoid needing salespeople that are as well very advanced machine learning engineers, very advanced business consultants, then specialized in a specific business area, and as well also being top sellers, which of course are very hard to find. Definitely the challenge. Second is, if you look how we run the business today, you could say in a manual way before implementing the sales intelligence. Well, we used to refer to the spinning wheel. The spinning wheel is, as you all know, it's having its moment of gravity when it starts spinning on its own, and that's of course the ideal situation. To get there, you have to pull, to push, and to spin it faster and faster. We make sure that we do not spin it too fast just to have the growth, because we want to make sure that customer satisfaction is staying at the highest levels as possible, as well as the employee satisfaction. And we measure both to make sure that the wheel is not spinning too fast. On the other hand, there's some things dragging us down, like the conversion from leads into sales qualified leads is not the highest conversion rate. So we were looking for a much more effective conversion rate today. Second is, if you look at the conversion from sales qualified leads into deals, it's not the highest conversion rate either. We were less than 20%, definitely a moment to improve and to make sure that we do not burn too much pre-sales resources early in the pipeline. And then looking at from delivery to upsell and cross-sell, there's a lot of improvement that we were looking for to work longer at existing customers just by staying active when new projects would arise, even if it's 6 months later, instead of, let's say, waiting until a new lead would come in from that same customer by other channels. So what is our vision? Well, we started to implement our vision in a manual way, and the vision is clearly to be at the right person with intention to buy an AI solution at the right company for that right process. How did we start in a manual way? So we did start already a long time to document all our use cases, all the projects that we were doing for customers in multiple ways. So we did document the technical solution and the metrics being applied, the functional solutions, and also the metrics associated, then the business benefit generated by that solution and how we could calculate the benefits on the metrics from that specific context. And of course, the persons, the job roles, the titles that were involved to not only buy, but also use that solution. And we did that in a manual way, selecting the companies then on typical criteria like EBITDA, the revenue, the segment, the verticals, and the domains that they were in. And then the persons trying to identify through account planning and through our networks in a manual way, who is the person who should be contacted to sell the solution, who has the budget, who has the authority, also feels the pain or has the need to solve, and has a time pressure also to get things done. And last but not least, then of course, working through the power map in the account plan on how can we, and through which network or introduction, can we get to the people that we need to talk to and convince to work with ML6. So all that, the vision is being or was being implemented in a manual way. But of course, we very fast hit the wall in the sense of it's not scalable, it's very labor intensive, and you need to update all that information as the world is moving fast, especially in these specific times. So you need to find a way to automate. You cannot continue to manually update all these plans efficiently and effectively. I will now show what we implemented to solve that challenge I just described, and I'm going to take you through 6 steps that were very important to get to the right solution. First step, as I mentioned, was to build this use case library to document all the steps and metrics of a use case. And not only, as I mentioned, the use cases and the projects we developed ourselves, but also by engaging with customers through RFIs, RFPs, you get a lot of information on what typical process and domains people want to solve with AI. And you get a lot of insights also in the business benefits they wanted to achieve. So all that we have been documenting very thoroughly. An example that you see here is a use case in the vertical of insurances in the domain of supply chain. And it's all about document understanding. So reading and extracting information from a lot of information that is coming in on paper, like in the context of claims processing. And so the use case is called document extraction. Important information that we captured from this use case is the benefits that they could generate on, let's say, in this case, in 112,000 documents per month. We identified benefits in the area of faster processing, higher quality, but also saving labor, up to 60,000 euros per month. So if you then make a calculation on the ROI of a project versus the benefits generated, you immediately have a very good case you can take to the CFO of that company and to have a decision taken fast on board level. The persona identified to go to and to, let's say, buy this solution was the VP of Claims Handling and the Director of Operations and Risk Mitigation. And of course, this information from these use cases all lead to a use case profile that we have on those elements. And you see in the boxes all the different elements that we combine together to get that profile on the use case. Step 2 is all about then building the subset of business rules and the companies that we need to target. And so we use structured information. You see here a tool which is called Paperbox that we use to extract information from unstructured sources. So we combine information coming from websites, annual reports, articles that are published and are in the public or commercially available. And so we extract topics on what is the company, what is the people, and who are the people that are being mentioned, what are also the items being mentioned, and what could be the challenges that are being documented in that article. So combining that with structured information from like company databases, information coming from unstructured sources, we then look for what we call the intention triggers. And intention triggers is something you can find through articles in news magazines, but also on postings, LinkedIn or other sources, where they announce about company performance, sector announcements, where they open up for hiring very important roles, let's say, but also shift or changes in job roles or job titles, announcements by the sector, or if they announce awards that they have been winning or strategic initiatives. These are all what we call intentional triggers. One example I would like to call out is a utility company that published in their annual report information about a huge loss they had in a specific year. And it was all about not being able to predict the production of electricity through water and through wind. And they had a huge loss in that year. If we then combine that information with another article that was associated with the same company talking about to hire an intern to look into forecasting models to better predict weather, to better predict the wind, and then to avoid, let's say, spending a lot of costs on the electricity market. If you combine both information, it's clear that you find and the right company and the right persona with the intention to buy an AI project on prediction of weather systems. And then it all comes together. We have from step 1, the use case data. From step 2, we have the company data, or called the prospect data. And then we use the machine learning techniques, which is called space embedding, to in a visual way map together all the companies, let's say the prospect data, the right companies and the right persona with the use case data that we have. And you see in the grouping of dots here in the same color and the number showing which use case would be the best use case to match with those companies, those processes, and also those persona in the company. Step 4 is now to identify how can we have access to the people that are deciding for these projects. How can we have access to decision power? In a manual way, in the account plan, of course, you have the stakeholder map and the power map, and it's a manual way to identify the right people. Also, if the people are positive, neutral, or negative towards, in this case, ML6 and the solutions. But there's also a way to automate it. So what we have been doing is from the use case library, identify the right persona based on job title or role. Then, of course, using structured information like company databases, LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, or other tools or articles, scraping through, for example, with Paperbox, so that we could identify the right name linked to that job role or persona that we were looking for. And then, of course, using our internal documentation of organization maps, our own networks, and bringing that all together to get to some sense of how easy is it to access the people that we need to speak to sell that AI solution. Bringing all that together from the previous steps in step 5 is a ranking of companies and personas versus how easy to get access to those decision makers. So bringing it all together, the y-axis is the potential. It's showing the chance that we have to win, but also to compete. So it's really the potential of how well is a use case matching with that company and that process. And on the x-axis, you see the how easy to sell, how easy using the networks that we have, using the introduction that we could leverage, but also using the other information that we have from who to contact in companies, we could bring together and identify those companies that and personas that are in the upper right box, which are the highest potential to win and to compete at, and of course, how easy to sell to. Then in step 6, it's all about, once the model is built, improving it. And it's not a secret that in machine learning, you need a couple of iterations to get the engines better. And it's a continuous improvement that you need to build in from the start. When we started with the first iteration, the improvement was only by 10%. Then we had a second iteration with more data, with more use cases, with more extraction from unstructured data, and we got to a 46% improvement. And then in the third iteration, we got already to 76%, which is a huge improvement already in only 3 steps. Now we're looking at to work with leading indicators. So even in the active pipeline on a daily basis to inject what we learn from interactions with the suspect personas on their interactions on website visits, blog visits, and so on. So really measure the interest per sales stage of the deal in the pipeline. So as a leading indicator, and then as a lagging indicator, because these are fewer, let's say, and later in the process, is what data do we get out of the negotiations on an NDA or T's and C's on building the proposal and then also getting the order in. Insights and learnings. I don't have to tell you that building such a sales intelligence system is not a trivial task. It takes a lot of effort from a lot of people in the whole company, as I showed, and from marketing and from sales and from delivery, but also from customer success. There's a lot of steps to be taken in order that all that information, very rich information coming from all the engagements with customers and partners in the market, is being documented and inserted into the use case library. So it has to be part of the company's DNA. Second is very important, of course, as we work with external data, is to verify, to look up and verify, and also respect all the terms and conditions on websites, company databases, or other sources before accessing that data. Thirdly, explainability, to build that in from the start, meaning that we can explain and understand as a human being why a company and a specific persona is in the upper right box of the model. It's important because it also gives the confidence to salespeople to explain why they should go after that lead at a specific company. Then, as I mentioned, prepare for iterations. We have done this third iterations, and with adding the leading and lagging indicators, it's another iteration. So we're going to keep improving the model. So you should be ready to do a couple of iterations. Also very important is you need to have the expertise to work with little data, ML, machine learning with little data. Why? Well, coming from a use case library based on existing projects, but also interactions with the market, it's not the massive data that you have from the inside to populate and train your model on. So you need to use the techniques that we have been developing to extend little data to more representative data to have the machine learning models learn and improve by time. And last but not least, you also need the expertise on depersonalization and anonymization techniques to respect all the terms and conditions that you have in NDA with customers, of course, and even more important towards individuals to respect GDPR rules. So very important to stay on top of depersonalization and anonymization on the one side, and of course the T's and C's on the sources externally that you use. With that, I have come to the Q&A slot. So here, happy to open up for your questions, your remarks, suggestions. And of course, if you could not reach me here in this slot, you can always send me an email at philip.descamps@ml6.eu, and you will find back my email address on my introduction page in the beginning of the presentation. Thank you, and looking forward to your questions.
Hello, any questions from the audience? Okay, it seems that you're not hearing me, or I don't hear the audience. But indeed, so let me go through the questions. Let me scroll up a bit. Okay, so the first question I have from Shana. So what tips would you have for someone just starting to think about bringing AI into the sales process? Where do you start to look? I think it definitely starts with identifying some basic business rules that could, let's say, create a subset of companies you want to look at. It's of course not doable if you're just starting to look at all the potential companies that are available in your market and then try to target them all. The crunching and the processing of all the data is massive. So I would start definitely with a subset and defining some business rules. As I called out, you could look at the EBITDA, you could look at the revenue, let's say mid-sized corporations between, for example, 500 million and 1.5, and then looking at some investment triggers that you potentially would see in or their annual report or just in the newspaper. So that would definitely be helpful. And secondly, of course, is working with AI means that you need to have some, I would say, some mindset shift in how to work and how to go from manual to automated. It means that you need to prepare your data sets gradually. You need to invest in some data lakes, let's say, to collect all that data. And of course, to build the confidence with some quick wins on the personal level. So if you want to convince sales to start using a CRM system, you need to show quick wins. You need to show that it's saving them time. And secondly, if you then start automating and bring through the system the, let's say, the next best actions for customers and specific persons into the CRM system, it needs some confidence for a salesperson to trust the system, to go pick up the phone and start calling that person that is identified with the story that is pushed from the system. So definitely bringing in AI from the start. It means a longer process if you want to do it yourself. You can, of course, look to buy some basic solutions that are available on the market. As I mentioned, the paper box one is definitely one that is very helpful in extracting data from all the different sources. And that's already helping to, I would say, populate the databases and information that you would need. I'm not sure if that answered your question. I don't hear you. So let me go to the next question from Christina. The minimum volume Yeah, that's a very good one. So indeed, as I mentioned on the use case side, so the internal data side, we did not have enough volume to really apply machine learning. That's why we use the techniques of ML with little data. So it means that you extrapolate use cases. It's the same technique that we would use for, like, I would say, fund eligibility or ineligibility assessments, where you have very little data on companies that would submit for a fund, and then you need to assess if that company is eligible for the fund or not. So it's the same techniques you extrapolate. Also, we extrapolated from information we got outside of MS6 from RFIs, RFPs. So there's a lot of things that you can do to get a set that is just reliable enough to train the machine learning engine on. To say what is the minimum, as I mentioned, 200, 300 use cases is not enough. So we extrapolated to above 1,000. Ideally, we would say 2,000 or 3,000 data sets is perfect to start with. If I go to the question of Virginia, I think here it's a very good question, Virginia. It's also a question about selling to B2B or selling to B2C. We get a lot of questions of companies addressing end customers, being consumers. And of course, on the consumer space, it's harder to get that image of who is the person we're trying to sell to. And we know that FMCG companies are investing heavily in what they call the segment of one. So they have, respecting all the rules of GDPR, all the rules of, let's say, privacy, but they still build a profile of an individual person with all the snippets and all the breadcrumbs they find on the internet. So with that, they can kind of profile people into buckets, into segments, and with that address them. I think there's a big evolution in that sense, but the largest evolution that I would see in maybe not 10 years, but even less than 5 years, is that the enterprise sales motion will change a lot. And we see that with all the access to data through websites, through all kinds of sources, there's so much available on tools, on offerings, that corporate people are very well informed before they get to salespeople. So at the end of the day, the quality or the added value from a salesperson is less into the challenger sales or getting into the power line or the typical solution selling methodologies. It will be more on getting into the right moment at the right customer, making sure that then the negotiation is happening. So what I see is that the role of a salesperson is going to change dramatically, and it will be more a facilitation of the process rather than the good old style, getting to know people, building the relationship, and building up towards a larger project. That's definitely what's going to change in a couple of years, if not already today. If you would say until 10 years, then of course with knowing that some algorithms like GPT-2 version to version 3 in only 7 months, it got 40 times stronger. So it's very hard to predict beyond, I would say, 5 years. Looking at the last question, maybe here from Jonathan. Difference with government accounts and non-government accounts. Government accounts tend to publish still a lot of information that is available. So it's good that governments get much more transparent. On the other hand, there's always that procurement department that you need to pass. So there's a lot of triggers, a lot of natural elements that is available in commercial world, which is just not working in government because you have these tenders, you have these public procedures. So in that regard, it's a different ballgame, definitely. Okay, with that, I think I covered most of the questions. Of course, you have my email address. It's philip.descamps@ms6.eu. Please shoot me an email, and happy to respond later on during the day or tomorrow. So happy to get to more questions in an offline mode. And thank you very much for joining this webinar. Highly appreciate it.